Right, well, good morning. Welcome to our June edition of Book Club. And this month's book is a bit of a classic, really. It's been out for quite some time. I can't remember when it was first printed, actually, 2010. So it's been out sort of 12 years. So I think I must have read it pretty much soon after it came out the first time. And another book that I've read for the second time and can't remember half the things I could remember, and half the things, well, I don't remember reading that. So it's always reminds me it's good to sort of come back to go through books again. And obviously the purpose of Book Club is really to give that continual development, so that we're always working on something, get some insights and personal experiences from the people that are reading it, hopefully a bit of fun, and we'd love to have a bigger community. So if you are watching this on the recording, it's be great to have you along in these morning sessions and actually participate in it as well, because I think that's where the real benefit of Book Club comes from. But we've got two fantastic people here to get some contributions from. So this was about the author. Matthey Syed was I didn't realize he was the world's number one, or the UK's number one table tennis champion for 10 years, actually. So he was number one for 10 years. So brings a lot of that insights through the book, for where he sort of started. I think it was up in Sheffield. I think he was based. So and now he's into, I think he's writing for one of the national newspapers, or it's a Telegraph or the Times. So he does an article in that. He does a very regular blog. So he's a good guy to follow if you're into podcasts and sort of the information he puts out. So he's pretty switched on with those sorts of things. He's done six books, I think they said he's written. Two that I've certainly read: Black Box Thinking, which is quite a good one, and obviously this was his first one, which was Bounce. So books separated into three parts. The first part is called the talent myth. So this sort of look into, is talent born or bred? So Bruce, do you want to kick us off then? What did you sort of get out of that sort of first section? These were the sort of three. Oh, there was actually four, wasn't there? Yeah, there was four. I obviously got bored writing this, so I got to three, and all the others were three, and I just must have thought there were only three in it. So the four sections within the talent myth. So the hidden logic of success. What sort of stood out for you within this part?
Yeah, I think a lot of the book for me was sort of knocking down sort of quite common preconceptions or understanding as to how people perform, and the book sort of talk. I think there's this feeling that perhaps people are just born with a natural gift to do something, or it's their genetics, or the book talked about various preconceptions where when studies have shown that actually more often than not that's not the case. So sort of looking at my own experience, I used to play chess when I was very young, and I was very it's something I was very good at. I used to win competitions and things, and everyone around me used to say, oh, you've got a natural gift for it, and it just comes naturally. And I sort of believed it because that's what everybody said. But actually, when I reflect on it, I think actually it's something that I really, really enjoyed. And so because I really, really enjoyed it, I had that sort of intrinsic motivation to play the game. And then because I was playing the game quite a lot, I was obviously getting better each time I played the game. And it's just a loop because I enjoyed it. And then people will be telling you, oh, you're amazing at this. You got a natural gift. It sort of gave me made me feel good, and I just work at it harder and do more. And so I sort of reflect on it. I guess before reading the book, I probably would have said, oh, I just have a natural gift for playing chess. But reflecting on it, I think, well, perhaps I didn't. Maybe I'm just the same as everyone else. And it just so happened that I enjoyed that. And because I played it a lot when I was very young, I got very good at it. Because I don't actually remember ever being taught chess. I've just always been able to play chess. See what I mean? It's a funny thing.
So no one in your family played, or?
Not really. My granddad, I guess, encouraged me. But yeah, I don't think we had anyone in the family who was like a really strong chess player. So yeah,
and did that go as far as reading books and actually studying? Because it brings a lot about chess in the book, doesn't he? And about sort of it's all about understanding the moves. There's all the different types of plays that you can play. Did you get into that sort of studying of the game?
No, I didn't get to that level. When I was at university, I had a few friends who played chess, and I used to have a few games with them. But at that point, people had overtaken me because they done the studying. They'd studied the various classic moves and things which I hadn't done when I was very young. And I did find that interesting, and I did sort of learn things from it. I didn't get to that level. I just learned through playing. I sort of forget exactly how the chapters are broken down. So, but just the general theme of the book, really was knocking down these preconceived ideas that we have, I found it really interesting actually, and it gives you a lot of motivation, because knowing that actually research suggests that we're all very, very similar. Actually, if it comes down to just working at it, then you can improve. But the preconceived idea is that you have sort of a natural talent for certain things, and you tend to, once you do, I think maybe at school there were perhaps certain subjects where I perhaps didn't get on with the teacher, and I didn't progress so much. And then you think, oh, I just wasn't really very good at it. But actually, perhaps I could have done it. It's just do you see what I mean? And, as you get older and older, it just runs with you. You just think, oh, I'm no good at languages, or I'm no good at such and such, and you reinforce that idea by that thought process. You see what I mean? I think the book just knocks all that down. It gives you a lot of motivation. You think, oh, actually, I can do so much. It's just a case of studying and practicing, and
I think it is that that never give up, because it goes back to exactly what you said. When you're doing well and people are going, oh, you're great at this, that motivates you to move forwards. When you fail and you don't get that, then a lot of people then give up. Whereas I think there is, if there was a sort of, I don't know, say a genetic thing, but the people that push through just keep at it. There's just that inner drive, that inner motivation to sort of just go, well, if I win, that motivates me to do more of it. If I lose, that motivates me to do more of it. And then it's really about the conditions around you at the time, your people you're hanging around with, again, your parents and things like that, that sort of, that help you to continue to drive forwards. If you look, I think he talks about the Serena Williams or the Williams sisters. and their dad, just kept on driving them, and so there needs to be that pick you up, like, doesn't matter, keep going, because it's easier to give up on it.
I think with the Williams sisters, it was clear that they really enjoyed what they did, and the dad sort of they had that intrinsic motivation to do it. So and I think the dad probably tried to make it quite fun as well. But the hours they would have been doing.
Have you watched the film? Have you seen the latest film?
No.
Oh, it's brilliant. Really, definitely. Certainly in light of the book as well. It's a good film in its own right. Will Smith did deserve an Oscar for it, I think. And it's really just a fantastic film. But just shows how they just kept on going. It was raining outside. They just wanted to go out and practice. When he got beaten up by the locals, he just came back the next day and practiced. There's that inner drive that, if there was I'd say it's not a genetic thing, I think, but you need that sort of desire to keep going, where most people will just go, I can't be bothered. Cool. Andy, what's anything out of these few chapters here then that stood out for you?
Similarly, I found it very interesting. I think, the way that he starts the book talking about, just the concentration of table tennis players in one location, within one street. It was, that does kind of put it into relief somewhat. I must admit, I think he makes a very good point, and the vast majority of it I do agree with, but I do think that is perhaps a little oversimplification. For instance, I'm dyslexic. I don't think, I'm dyslexic because I didn't try hard enough at reading. Although actually, it's hard to say. Do I not read as much because I'm dyslexic, or am I dyslexic because I don't read as much? I think I don't know that much about the science behind dyslexia, but I would be shocked if you could just make it go away by trying harder. Which is not to say that you can't do very well in all fields despite that. There's plenty of examples like Benjamin Zephaniah, who's dyslexic, and Albert Einstein, and so clearly it's not that holds you back. So maybe that's not really the point, but it does make certain things harder. Yes, the miraculous children thing, that was all sort of debunking the myths of the sort of child prodigies, wasn't it? And stating that in fact they'd had the opportunities and put in the time and just got that much further ahead, like Bruce was saying about chess. I also played chess when I was very young, and sort of I won sort of the school competition when I was sort of 5 or 6, but I didn't really continue it, and so consequently I'm pretty average at chess now. I haven't played for years. But I think it was just the fact that I had parents who were happy to play chess with me. If I didn't have anyone to play with at home, then I wouldn't have played. I wouldn't have got that experience. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have been better than the others. So it's, it did. Maybe this sort of comes more onto some of the later stuff, but it did kind of get me thinking about, about the business and recruitment and, assessing people, we're often looking at, people's kind of cultural fit and values, but we're also looking at their aptitude to do the job. And yeah, just reflecting on what is that aptitude. Is it essentially, it's not an inbuilt thing. I guess what you're actually assessing is, have you had that 10,000 hours, or at least are you on the path to getting those 10,000 hours?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. There are obviously stark differences between between job applicants in terms of their capability and apparent aptitude, but maybe aptitude isn't is no longer the right word to use.
Yeah. Just which screen can you see on your screen? Is it the PowerPoint slide?
I can see the PowerPoint slide, and I can see the three of us on the right-hand side.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. I just suddenly thought, because I've now got 3 screens, so it's like,
okay.
Shit, I don't know which one I've just shared. So just want to make sure it was the right one. But no, I think that's definitely in line with my thinking. Was that we go for the skills. Have you got the skills? But actually, underneath that, what we're really looking for is your desire and willingness to learn, and that intrinsic motivation. Because if somebody's got that intrinsic motivation, then they'll learn new stuff. They'll continue to learn. And if you remember back, I think we did the Clive Woodward book about rocks and sponges, and it's the sponges that you're looking for that go, right, okay, here's something new. Okay, I'm not brilliant at it, but I want to learn it. Whereas you've got somebody who's talented at it, goes, well, I'm really good at this, and then they sort of they might be better to start with, but they plateau, and then the person with the intrinsic motivation will probably get past them within a year anyway, and then be a much better person within the team after that. So what did you take from the, which I love, was the mind's eye bit on page 25, where he played Michael Stick, thinking, well, I'm a table tennis player, I've got amazing reactions, and and then Stick chucked down sort of half a dozen 130-mile-an-hour serves, and he didn't even get his racket on it. I thought that was really good, sort of showing that it's more than just the reaction side of it. It's reading the person, the where the ball goes.
But so much of it is subconscious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because clearly he didn't appreciate that was why he was, inverted commas, fast. He just assumed that he had good reaction times, which
yeah, it's interesting. I used to play cricket for the Southampton University team, and I'd had coaching with that, and I remember they were teaching us how to sort of receive the ball as a batsman, and a lot of the focus was on watching really watching what the person was doing running up before the ball was released. So by really looking at that, even looking at just what the hand was doing, and you could then sort of predict, what was going to happen. So you didn't even necessarily be having to see the ball coming at you. You'd know where it would be because you'd seen. And I guess, that sort of thing. If you put a novice in that situation, they've got a fast bowler coming at you. The ball comes at you. You just got no idea.
No.
It's just too quick. You just don't have reactions, and you'd be looking at the ball, and the ball, by the time you realise where it is, your bat's in the wrong position and you miss. And I guess you can obviously get a lot through coaching, but you get a lot through experience, don't you? So you're just doing it more and more and more, and you get to pick up on these things, and then in the end you're doing it completely subconsciously. You don't even know what it is that you're looking at, but you are processing all these things, and yeah, it's fascinating, really. Yeah.
No, I think it's, and he talked in one of the later chapters about the neural signals that go from the visual cortex into the brain, and he says there's more data comes from the brain down than from the eyes up, which I thought that was amazing. That, you know, it's the patterns that we learn that we go, oh yeah, well I've seen that before, and it's that bit that speeds up our processes. So the blind person is just seeing again, and I find it's definitely with languages, you know, and he said that, you know, when we understand a language, the gaps between the words we pick out. When I go to Spain and listen to the Spanish talk, it's just like this, you know, spurting out of all just this noise, and I can't pick out the defined words. And I put that down to, you know, I'm not an auditory person, so I sort of don't, I find it hard to do that. But what he's saying is I don't have the patterns, the sort of recognition of what that should look like. Therefore, I'm just hearing that sort of white noise, which means I can't do it. And because I can't do it, I don't have the patterns. So you sort of, you're stuck in this loop again. So you've almost got to go and be with Spanish talking people who talk a little bit slower, so that you can then define the words to the what's actually happening. So I'd be better with watching a video of somebody talking and listening, and then seeing, you know, this is an apple, and actually see the apple there. So I go, oh, that's an apple, therefore I can make the sort of the neural connection. Cool. And what about Desmond Douglas then? What did you take of him on page 27? I thought that was great as well. The table tennis player with amazing reactions.
Yes, and they gave him a reaction test, and he was the worst out of everyone.
And just had to practice his table tennis in a small room with his back against the wall, so he couldn't actually move.
Yeah.
That was very, very interesting.
Yes, yeah. All of those kind of techniques for, I mean, that one was kind of well, not designed, but kind of serendipitous, I suppose. But thinking about how you can then apply those sorts of things. I think it's easier to think about how you can apply them in, you know, sport. But actually, you know, I did start to think about, well, you know, is there anything we can apply in business as well? You know, can we, you know, I know, you know, people run sort of things like hackathons. You know, is that beneficial in a way, because it allows you to kind of go through almost a whole sort of product development cycle in a day. So or a couple of days, or however long it's run for. But you know, are things like that a good sort of training thing? Also, you know, I was taking my eldest to University Open Days at the moment, and they're looking at a sort of technical theatre course, and as we looked at the different courses, it came back to my mind again, because we went to one place and they said, well, they do 13 shows. I forget whether it was it wasn't every term, it was every year. So there's 13 or 14 shows every year. You know, compared to other places that may be doing less than half that. And you just think, well, if you're going through that process, twice as many times as you could be, then that's that kind of intense sort of training cycle of doing all of that stuff. At the end of it, you're perhaps going to come out with more experience, having sort of covered more things, having sort of you spot the problems coming. You know how to solve more problems. So
it is that sort of that practice. That's where you learn that, because in practice it's okay to fail. I mean, that's the big thing. And you have to fail in order to make the learnings, because the failure is at the edge of your comfort zone. So you're pushing that and failing and failing and failing. When you fail in the job, in the sport, in the competition, that's generally not a good thing. To go back to your hackathons, I think from reading this, 100%, that's a great thing to do, because you're pushing people to learn more, to try more, to fail more, and that's where you make those step changes. And also, thinking about the recruitment side, if you do the hackathons with people outside of the company, doing sort of a national or even a Hampshire-based one, you'll pull out that talent who will want to come to that, and that for you then is a great picking ground for future people. So it's a bit of a double whammy then, isn't it? What about Bruce, about Laszlo Polgar and his chess wizards? It seems it was that was quite something, wasn't it?
Which page was that? Was that
page 60? It started. There was a good chapter on that.
Is this where his children?
So he basically wrote to a number of women and said, this is what I want to do, and I want to do a science test. we're going to have children, and I'm going to teach them to be sort of chess champions.
It's one way of getting a wife, I suppose.
And then the first child did well, the second did better, and then the last one did even better after that. So
so interesting.
I think 2 years after Susan Pogba, blah blah blah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So 2 years after Susan Polgar became the world's first female grandmaster, Father Laszlo was offered a fresh challenge to try to persuade him to adopt 3 boys from a developing country to see if he could replicate the results he achieved with his 3 daughters. Polgar jumped at the idea, but was overruled by his wife. He said, "No, we've had enough of this." Well, that was good. So then the path to excellence was the third part, so which I think was about that 10,000 hours, wasn't it?
Sort of. Well, I can see on the first page on that chapter, it was talking about driving your car, and I thought that was interesting. Well, I like driving, but it's sort of saying how you can be doing an activity for many hours, but not doesn't necessarily mean you're going to improve on it. So you need to something like driving. Once you got to a particular level, a lot of people they don't give the driving any attention or focus. Their mind will be wandering, thinking about other things. So there's nothing there for you to improve, you reach a level, you need to stay at that level, even though you're doing it, more and more. So yeah, it's also saying, you need to set targets, you need to set objectives. It's continuously looking to improve, getting feedback. I thought it was interesting on Tiger Woods, and when he was young, and how his dad, something like putting, it was a case of one of the targets was okay, you've got this 4-foot putt to do. How many times can you do it in a row without missing? It's getting up to like 70 or something. You're thinking, Jesus. But you can see that obviously that's the framework that allowed him to improve. So I guess the chapter probably has all sorts of tips around setting those goals. I'd have to sort of flick through the pages to see what I remember.
I think page 73 said, when most people practice, they focus on things they can do effortlessly. They're trying to, again, it's that I do something well, my brain rewards me with a dopamine hit, so therefore I'm more likely to do things I can succeed at. Whereas he says that deliberate practice, or he calls it purposeful practice, is about pushing that boundary. If it was doing 5 putts, and I can do that easily, that's not pushing you 70 putts. And I was watching Rory McIlroy before the Open. He says one of my putting sort of practices is I think it was 6 or 7 balls at different distances from the hole. I mean, he had to go round and putt each one, and he says if I miss one, I have to start again. And I can't leave that sort of part of the practice until I've completed all of them. And I went up the putting range to sort of do that, and I got to sort of, I think, the 4th or 5th one, and then missed it. He goes, I'm not going back and doing it all again. Because I just got bored of, right, I want to move on to the next thing, I don't. And I thought, then it sort of came to me, oh God, I've got to go back and do it again. And that's that ability to just grind it out. That's where you build the neural paths and the connections. I don't know if it's in this one, but I picked it up from another book as well about myelin, which is the brain's insulator of neural connections.
Okay.
So when you start something, you're trying to get these neurons that fire together, join together. So you're trying to get these neural pathways, because that's then your highway to send the information through. So when you try something and it fails, it's like this. It sort of goes and it doesn't go, and then eventually you get it, and then the neural connection connects, and then as you practice it, it gets insulated by a product called myelin, which sort of then hardwires that into your brain. And that's when it becomes autopilot, so you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to use conscious thought to create the connection. The connection is already there. And the more you practice it, the more insulated that becomes, the more hardwired it becomes. That's why bad habits are so hard to break, because you can't then break a connection. The connection is there forever. All you can do is create another connection that eventually is more powerful than the connection that was there before, but it's still there. So there's always that under pressure, there's always a chance you'll go back to the old way. And that's the big problem. That's why I don't know whether it works without being an alcoholic, but they say once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic, because that your connection of thinking that alcohol is the solution to your problem is always there, but you've tried to create other pathways to overcome it. So that was Very interesting. Anything else from this sort of final section of the first one then?
Chapter 4 that isn't there, you mean?
Sorry, chapter 4. Oh, the chapter 4 that's not there. Yeah.
The one that's not on the list.
One that's not on the list.
I like
the fourth one is the one that talks about, I mean, we mentioned some of it earlier. You know, it's that kind of feedback people get around, you know, oh, you're so smart at that, or like Bruce was saying about the chess books, oh, you've got a natural gift, and that, and the way that sets people's mindsets and how they then become, you know, stuck in a fixed mindset as opposed to a growth mindset. And I mean, there's quite a lot in the later chapters as well that kind of overlap with that, talking about you know, comparison of people's performance between those different mindsets. He also talks about the motivation side of it as well. Because in order to do all that hard practice, you've got to be motivated to do it. And so it's, you know, what are the inspiring words or the events that really spur people to go and put in all that 10,000 hours and become really good.
Because there was this, you know, the motivational jolts, where he says we want to examine whether something as arbitrary as having a shared birthday with someone who is good at maths would ignite a motivational response. So it's just weird, isn't it? It's just small little things that in people, like later on he talks about the placebo effect, but you relate something to something. So, you know, I suppose I was watching an old Fifth Gear, and they had Prost and Senna's kids on it, and they were sort of, and you think, well, you know, if your dad was a world champion, you know, you're going to think that you could be as good as your dad, aren't you? Okay, you'll have more opportunities to drive cars and things like that as well. So you find that the sort of second generation car drivers, you know, do get into the sport. You know, I think Carlos Sainz's son's in motorsport now, isn't he? And Verstappen and things like that. So it's that sort of, you know, you've got to have that belief somehow, you know, even if it's not true, that you believe it is true, you know.
Yes, and siblings as well, like the Schumachers, and but also lots of examples in the book of siblings.
Because and also and that's why they say the second one will always be better than the first one, because the second one is younger, practicing with the first one and constantly probably getting beaten. Therefore, their desire to be better is going to be stronger.
Yes. So
they practice more, and they you know, whereas the first one is, well, I can beat everybody, so they sort of end up giving up a little bit. So good. So what was the other final bits from Mysterious Sparks and Life-Changing Mindset? Oh, there was the McKinsey one, wasn't there? Did you pick that up? Sort of the business.
Oh yes,
in Enron.
Sort of negative example of
bit on natural athletes, the ones with the strongest intrinsic skills. Don't be afraid to promote stars without specifically relevant experience. The talent mindset, deep-seated belief that having better talent at all levels is how you outperform the competitors. And then McKinsey guy went to work for Enron.
I think he made the point as well about government, and you know, the fact that, you know, ministers are constantly being reshuffled. You know, how can you how can you become good at something if you're effectively always in a new job?
Yeah,
it's completely different. You've gone from being the Minister for Health to being Minister for Defence or something like that.
Yeah,
just a totally different job.
Yeah. I don't know if I told you, I did a coaching course with Tim Galway, who wrote the Inner Game books, and there was a load of coaches from around the world there, and I was paired up with the Hungarian shooting coach. So he sort of was taking the Hungarian team to the Olympics.
Okay.
And we were talking a little bit about sort of this concept, and he said that about 4 years ago, just before, I think just as he came in, they had the way they recruited the young stars would they would take the top regional kids in shooting and then bring them into the training program and train them up. And he said, our results were always disappointing. We never really sort of got anywhere. And then whether it was this book or there's another book called The Talent Code. And so we started taking the second and third place people as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the second and third place people always outperformed the first place people after a year or so. And he said because the talent, the naturally said talented people believed they were the best and therefore didn't have to work hard.
Right.
The guys that were second and third knew they weren't the best, so they just worked harder.
Yeah.
And he said they were just easier to train, and they said very, very quickly. So we stopped after that recruiting the sort of the ones that looked like they were winning easily. So that was really interesting to see it in practice. I think they got a bronze medal at the next Olympics. So
that raises some interesting questions, doesn't it?
Well, it's sort of again
it goes, tryouts, right? I mustn't come third.
but I think it does go back to the recruitment thing. That sometimes we're looking for the most talented person with the best CV. And really what we should be looking is the one that is the most hungry to learn, the one that's pushed themselves. So what have you done that's taken you outside your comfort zone? What have you done that has failed, but you tried again? Those are the things that we should be really looking for.
I was certainly, when I've interviewed people, I do always try to find an area where I know a little bit more than they do, and then kind of keep pushing until we find a question they can't answer. And then see how they respond to that. Do they want to understand how to do it? Can I give them a few pointers and they just run with it and come up with the answer? Or do they just go, I don't know, and give up?
It's that it goes back to that desire to, I don't know the answer, but I want to know the answer. I want to know how to do this. So the second section then sort of moved into paradoxes of the mind. The placebo effect was an interesting one. What was your take on this one then, Bruce?
Not too sure. Obviously we know about the placebo effect. It's sort of common knowledge in terms of the medical world. Just trying to remember what was said in the book. It is, placebo effect. Just generally I find it's amazing, really. Just have a flick through the book, see if anything.
He gave the example of the when they ran out of anaesthetic, didn't he? And started using saline solution instead. And the fact that it seemed to be pretty effective, which is incredible.
I did like his philosophical approach, that with Muhammad Ali and the going in sort of saying, well, I'm going to win because Allah's going to make sure I win, and George Foreman went in, said, I'm going to win because God's on my side.
Yes.
And I'd say this isn't a religious thing, but that belief in something outside of yourself is a massive, that's a huge strength. When I talk about the the 3 levels of brain function, the reptilian brain, the limbic system are very selfish, internally driven, and then the neocortex is the thinking brain that has the purpose. Why am I doing this? And if you can engage that part, there's something out there that's is bigger than me, then it's a huge powerful driver to keep you going. Which it is a placebo. There's nothing there. I was playing tennis last night and playing against a guy, and we were it was a very, very close match, and the guy had hit a ball and it had gone over, and he'd won the point, and the ball came back to my feet, and he said, "Can I have the ball, please?" I said, "Well, there's one there by your feet." He said, No, can I have that ball, please? So there's that, he wants the ball that won the last point. So I gave him the ball, and he hit the ball and it went out. And
it's amazing, really, how the mind works and all the superstitions. And, I suppose, sort of the religious bit, the name of the triple jumper just escapes me now, but I found that his story really interesting. And I remember watching him when he was doing his incredible world record jumps at the time. I remember watching him live, and but he just had he was saying in the book that he just had this belief, this other power sort of so his mindset was just very different. He was going to win. He knew he was going to win, and and he did win. And but just that. It's amazing, really, isn't it? How the mind works. So it's not just what your capability, but if you've got 2 people who've trained exactly the same, can do exactly the same thing. But if one person actually has got that extra belief, you can actually take it further. That's very interesting.
It's interesting stuff about being able to turn it on and off as well, because he said, I think he gave golf as one of the examples, and he said, well, if you had absolute belief that you could make any shot, then you try and go straight for the green from the tee or whatever. So he said they've got to be able to switch into a mode where they kind of plan what they're going to do without that belief, but then once they've made that decision, then they've got to switch it on, and then they've got to have absolute belief that they can make the shot that they plan to make.
And he said about George Orwell's 1984 book, wasn't it, called A Double Think, the power of holding 2 contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously, accepting both of them. To forget any fact that has become inconvenient, and then when it becomes necessary again, draw it back from oblivion for just so long as it's needed. And I suppose that's why, go back to the above the line, below the line, the below the line thinkers, blame, excuses, denial is, I'm going to make this shot, and then you miss the shot. It was the wind. You then look for an external reason why that doesn't then contradict with your belief that I should have made that shot, because otherwise it becomes an internal then thing that says, well, okay, well, you're not good enough, and that's where we come into really the next part of this, which is the curse of choking. that the conscious mind then tries to take control, because it says, well, you the body's not good enough, therefore I need to take control of this, and then you're completely ruined. As I found out on the last hole of a 6-day competition last week, and decided, I think my conscious brain decided it would take control of the shot, and promptly stuck it into the woods. And I lost my ball and I came second. So yes, that was a good learning experience for me as I was reading the book on holiday as well. So and I'd actually literally just finished the choking, the choking chapter, and there's me on the last tee going, right, just forget about it, just swing normally, and then, oh fucking hell, pulled it into the trees. So what was any thoughts on the curse of choking then? Because there was some great stories in there about Greg Norman, Tim Henman.
I think I can't remember. Was it one of the sports people was saying how, for an event they go to the corner of the room and they just say to myself, this is I can't remember exactly what it was now, but they're basically trying to put
speed skating.
Sorry,
speed skating
was it? But they were basically telling themselves, this is not important. It's not important. It's not important. It's not important. And you're just trying to get them in that mindset. So they just believed, they went out there. They truly felt this is not important, so they could do their natural race. But
that goes back to the same thing, doesn't it? It's having two opposing thoughts in your head. This isn't important, but I'm going to win. I'm going to win, but it's not important. So it's that ability to sort of to call on both sides of the brain to be able to achieve that, and that's why it comes back to the 10,000 hours. You've got to have the practice and believe and put yourself in those situations before, because by having been in that situation, then you're more likely to be able to cope with that position.
Matthey Syed, I think he was talking about his own experience, wasn't it, when he had that competition and he just played completely dreadful. He just couldn't do anything because the occasion sort of overwhelmed him, and he just wasn't playing his normal game. He was, and then trying to overthinking everything, and he just fell apart, didn't he? And he learned from that. When he came back, in the future years, he learned his lesson.
It's that two brain, the conscious brain. The conscious brain, the subconscious brain. The conscious brain trains the subconscious brain to be able to perform. That's the practice. That's the learning. And then when you get into the game, you've got to get rid of that part of it. And just rely on and trust, what you've taught your body to actually do, and let it do it. And that's the hard bit, and that's where most people, I think, fail, and why choking happens, because it's not going the way I want it to go. Therefore, right, I'm going to take control again. Whereas if you just can accept the outcome and say, it doesn't, look, whether I win or lose, it doesn't really matter. I can accept that, then you can just let yourself go and everything's fine. So it's and that's why being at the top is so difficult. So that's why if you look at you in tennis with Nadal and Nadal on your centre court of Roland Garros on a final, just feel he's been there so many times that he doesn't have to think it, whereas his opponent is always thinking, oh God, this is Nadal, he's on his home court, he's won this for the past 14 years, you know, you've almost lost before you start.
Mm.
And that's why I think sometimes it takes a youngster, somebody who doesn't have even less experience, to just come in and then just play the game of their life and win, like Boris Becker did at Wimbledon. You know, even Nadal, when he went to Wimbledon sort of for the first or second time, you know, you don't have any of those sort of doubts or negative thoughts that hold you back. So.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, they're just in that position. They're just thinking, even if I lose this, that's still amazing. I'm here. Yeah.
But you've still got to have the drive to then give everything to win it.
Yes.
Otherwise, you go, well, second place is fine. I'll just make do with second place.
Yes. Yeah. The way I kind of related to this is slightly different, because the sports that I don't do competitively, but there's kind of I guess a risk of injury element doing, you know, I do climbing and mountain biking, and yeah, I mean, definitely sort of, you know, at sort of trail centre in Wales quite recently, and you know, not been for a while, and you know, some bits of it, you know, quite hairy, and yeah, if you start overthinking it because you think you're going to injure yourself, you'll probably end up injuring yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, if you just, you know, let your body do what it's learned to do, then you'll be fine.
It was, I mean, that's, you know, when I went motocrossing, you know, first time off road, and you know, I could tell there that my conscious brain was trying to control everything, because you know, my you know, my other senses hadn't been there. And I hadn't done it, you know, and so that it was like, I don't know what to do. So it goes, right, well, you know, I think I need to be in control of this. And every time it kicked in, I fell off.
Yeah.
So and yeah, and you also find when you get tired as well, you know, if you're doing anything and your body is actually tired, you know, trying to get back into the zone, as it were, it becomes very, very difficult. And you know, the more conscious brain that kicks in, I think the tireder you become. So you know, you're trying to, because you know, the thinking part takes so many calories that you just run out of energy. And I think that's what happened to me on, you know, playing that golf game. That 6 days, you know, I concentrated really hard for that last day, and the last 3 holes I just run out of mental capacity. You know, whereas the guy I'm playing has been playing, you know, so it's competitive golf and sport for, you know, probably twice as long as I have, and his swing is ingrained. I mean, he does the same swing, it's always the same, so he wasn't relying on that, so he had plenty more mental capacity at the end, and mine had just run out. it's like a spent a sort of a spent rag, as it were. So where to get to? Yes, so rituals, pigeons, and why great sportsmen feel miserable after winning. This was a interesting one as well. About sort of the, you know, people's rituals, which, you know, you see this all the time. I mean, again, if you watch Nadal playing tennis, you know, he's got this really bizarre ritual of pulling his pants out of his arse, you know, sort of wiping his head. Yeah, every time is exactly the same. So, there was the cricketers that wouldn't wear a white hat.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't wear the
blue England cap.
Colours.
Yeah. He wants his favourite white hat.
Yeah. Is it Jack Russell?
Jack Russell, wasn't it? Yeah.
Had the same hat for almost ever. So it's almost like, falling apart or threadbare, and still insists he's got to wear this hat.
And you're lucky, and wearing your lucky pants, or I did this, I had breakfast and I won something, and therefore every day I've got to have the same breakfast.
There was the guy who had to be last out of the dressing room.
Yeah.
Except on the occasion when someone was injured.
That's it.
Yeah.
They were staying in the dressing room.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He stayed in the dressing room until he'd been treated, forcing Arsenal to start. It's just weird, isn't it? But it goes back to that caveman sort of mindset of those patterns that we're looking for, to repeat the patterns. And they say, within, when you're playing sport, golf and tennis, that your pre-shot routine is key to your consistency of playing the game. So if you get into that routine, right, this is what I do, then it focuses the mind, and then so your conscious brain focuses on doing the pre-shot routine, and then it can switch off and allow the body to do the rest. So you can see then how it then extends into those little ticks and certain sort of traits that people people get stuck into. I thought the anticlimax, the misery of winning one was an interesting one as well, wasn't it?
It's interesting, isn't it? 'Cause you're working hard to get to that point, and it's all fun and motivating, and but you get there and then decide, I've done it. But I suppose was it Ferguson? He'd been interviewed, and after they'd won one of the cup finals, and almost immediately he was talking about the next year, the next season. So he just moves on straight away. Okay, that's done. And
next goal, and that's why I've always said within the business planning and goal setting, 90-day plans and budgets, and targets, that we need them because we need the focus of something to move towards, but actually attaining them, that's not what it's all about. So whether you succeed or fail, treat them with the same sort of mindset, but know that you've got then set the next goal. And it's the pursuit of the goal is where the enjoyment in life is, not the attainment of it. It's understanding that, knowing that when I get there, then okay, that's great. So what's next? And I suppose it first came to me when I did my because when I went going back to school, when you did your GCSEs, in a way your GCSE or your GCSEs were so you could go to sixth form to do your A levels. The A levels were there so I could go and then go to university. Didn't get a degree, but to get into accountancy. And then the accountancy was so that I could get a pay rise. So every goal I had, that I could always see the next goal after it. And the one that was a bit weird was when I did my MBA, was I got the MBA, and then it was worked really hard, did it all, got the result, got a first in that, and then I thought that was a bit of a waste of time, wasn't it? Where's all the sort of all the excitement? Well, okay, oh shit, now I've got to go and set another goal then. Oh right, okay. So that was the first time I'd pursued an educational goal without it being the link to the next stage. And so I almost got to that point where I'd won my Olympic gold medal, and then thought, okay, well, what's next? Because I had dedicated a complete year to it, and there wasn't there was a void at the end of it. So that was looking back now, I could definitely see that the misery of winning. And then you feel bad about feeling bad. It's a very strange place to be. Any sort of experiences of that that misery of winning?
I don't know that I have, because I say the sports that I do are not sort of super competitive, and yeah, if they were, I probably wouldn't be the one at the top of the tree anyway. And in business, it's there's always something next. There's always, I mean, I guess perhaps if you reach a point where you've built up a successful business and you then sell it, and then you're sat there on a pile of cash with nothing to do, that could certainly be a point where I'm not in that position, but I can imagine that one might kind of go, oh, what now?
Yeah, and I think that is true for most people that I know that have done that. I mean, so there's quite a few people are more senior in years, and therefore actually just going and spending time and doing the things that they didn't do in the 20, 30 years that they were building their business. There's a lot of things they need to do. But Brad Sugars talks about it in his book, when he got to financial freedom, at the age of 24, 25, retired, and then started playing golf with his dad, and then after about a year of that, he realized, hang on, what am I doing going around with these old boys talking about their prostate all the time? And that's when he sort of, the light bulb came on for him, that it was this it was just a stepping stone on the journey. So there is that, definitely. And I think that's a lot of why people don't sell their business, is because they don't have a vision of what life would be like after. So they sort of think, well, I could, if I sold this and I had enough money, well, what would I do? I don't know. Oh shit, I don't like that. So therefore I'll just carry on running my business. So it's that double mindset of one, I am gonna build this, be in a position to sell it, have the money, and then with that money, then I'm going to go into the second phase. I'm going to do then something else with it. So be it probably, I've got one that at the moment they're likely to sell for about 6 million, and they came back to me and said, we want to now work on a property plan. So we're going to invest this in properties. Others will invest in other businesses, and that's why the game of business is infinite. Because there's always a game to play if you want to play it. Cool. So the final section was deep reflections and this sort of optical illusion. The picture probably didn't work particularly well for you, Andy, on your audio.
Not on the audio book, no.
But you've probably seen this sort of thing before.
I do have the physical book as well.
You got the book as well, good. So that sort of, again, this was that top-down sort of the way that the brain fills in the gaps based on our knowledge. So if we have no knowledge, we wouldn't see these things. And I thought it was interesting. It was, he said somebody got their sight back, and he only knew it was somebody's face because that's where the words came from.
Yes.
I think it's in this chapter. It talks about the is it a base? No, it's a basketball game, and then a gorilla. They have a gorilla walking past, and I've actually seen that. I've done that myself, and I
Brilliant,
didn't see the gorilla.
Yeah,
and I was just completely shocked that you can miss such an obvious thing when you look back on it.
We saw Darren Brown a few years ago, and he did a version of that. So he had obviously had the stage, and he said he put I think it was a hand of bananas hanging on a coat hat stand or something, and he said that at some point during the show, a gorilla's going to come in, take the bananas, wave at you, and walk off. If you see it, I don't want you to say anything, but when I ask you at the end, we'll see how many of you saw the gorilla come on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of got through the show, and then he sort of turns around and he looks at the thing, and the bananas are missing. He said, who saw the gorilla then? And I think 1% of the audience put their hand up, and I was aware of this sort of concept, didn't see it at all. And then he played the record because it was being recorded. He played the recording, and this gorilla walks right across the stage, waves, takes the bananas, walks off, and nobody saw it. It was just weird, absolutely weird. I think did he? Then at the end he did another thing where he said, "I'll do it again, and see if you pick it up this time." And it was one of his sort of disappearing acts, and then he was sort of there. He was doing the thing and stuff like that, and then he comes on, or the gorilla then comes on, and everybody sees the gorilla, and then he takes the hat off, and it's him, and we think he's over there. So have you seen him? Have you seen him live?
Not live. No.
He's definitely. I think he's back in the Mayflower in July, I think. So definitely worth seeing if you get a chance.
I just caught the page about the airliner that crashed.
Yes, yeah,
yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah. So the
blindness that kills. Yeah.
Yeah. So just so absorbed and looking at this light to do the landing gear, and completely oblivious to the fact that I suppose it was the context had changed. They thought they had the autopilot on, didn't they? So but actually it had been disengaged, and they just hadn't noticed. And so and then the alarm was going off, warning it alert, and they completely oblivious to it. Incredible.
Just shows that when we do give our focus to one thing, we do blank out everything else, and that's a good thing, because that allows us to really focus on something. But as you said, in that sort of situation, the complete obvious, and it's also the herd effect as well, isn't it? The alarm's going off, but you might hear it, but no one else is reacting to it, so you don't react to it. You see that with fire alarms. Everyone looks around. Well, okay, no one else is panicking, no one else is running, so I'll just stay here. If somebody runs and panics, then the herd kicks in and follows. The drugs one was quite interesting, wasn't it? So it's quite sort of a bit of a conundrum there of, do you ban drugs and drive them underground? Do you make them legal? Are drugs bad? That whole thing of, if you had a cancer curing drug, that would be seen as a positive thing, but a performance enhancing drug is seen as a negative thing. Any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I think his point about the zero sum game was an interesting one, because in sport, if you allow people to take drugs, then that kind of means that just by allowing it, everyone has to, assuming they're effective.
Yeah.
So I think that's potentially the problem in sport, isn't it? Is the whatever policy they set is basically determining what people will have to do in order to compete. Life is not zero sum, so therefore, some people, if they want to, take some kind of, drug for, either health benefits or to make them, smarter, fitter, whatever, then, if they're not competing, then arguably there's no harm in that.
Yeah, I think it's that, if everyone has access to it and everyone improves by the same percentage, there's no overall benefit.
Whereas if everyone in the world got smarter and fitter and what have you, then there would be a benefit.
Everyone benefits. Yeah. What about our last chapter on our black superior runners? The racial stereotypes. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And it almost kind of came full circle back to the first chapter.
Yeah.
Are people who live on this road superior table tennis players?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very, very interesting about the factors and the localities and there were the kids who had to run to school sort of 20k at high altitude every day. So I can see why they might end up being quite good at running.
Yep. And the sort of the genome test as well, that have they got a special genome that's different? And the proof was no, they haven't.
Yes, it was like, oh well, there's this correlation, but then hang on, 80% of people in Europe also have that. Okay.
It's really interesting. Definitely debunking myths.
I suppose it goes back to we look for, the human brain looks for patterns and it looks for simplicity. So that's why race comes in, that there is a clear distinction between blacks and whites. And therefore we put the generalisms on there that whites are this and blacks are this, but it goes into the detail of actually no, that we underneath we're pretty much the same anyway, but it's that ability to that conditioning that we've been through that gives us that I suppose superiority. And I suppose if you looked at it on a educational side of things, a lot of things that certainly in America that they sort of say the whites are more privileged, and have the better jobs and those sort of things. Well, it's conditioning. It's the environment in which they're brought up, isn't it? They're brought up in those areas, so therefore there's more opportunities. It's not to say that people from a lower background and different colour persuasion can't achieve that, but again, if the mind says, well, I can't achieve that because I am, then it's you're creating your own sort of outcome from it.
Yeah. The prejudices of others, be that subconscious or otherwise, then reinforce that whole thing. So.
Yeah.
It's interesting as well that obviously there's he says he clearly demonstrates it's clearly not a black-white thing, but at the same time he's also saying that there is a genetic thing, that there are I think he gave an example of a tribe of people who were all of a certain height. Now clearly they were relatively small, and therefore they're not going to be the world's best basketball players, for instance. So on a I think there are, his point wasn't that genetics play no part in it. It's just that where we, the groupings that we apply to those genetics are just way off.
There's sort of generalizations and assumptions that people like this are like this. And I would definitely agree. If you are born 7 foot tall, then there are certain things that you might find slightly easier and you're better at. Certainly as a young kid, if you are taller than all your peers at that stage, then some sports, basketball, tennis, you'll probably be better at.
But even if you just get a growth spurt earlier than somebody else, you're incentivized to practice more because you're doing well, and then
and that's it, isn't it? That then comes that cycle. Just because I've got that sort of some small physical advantage, I then go, oh, that's great, so I do more of it, so I reinforce that advantage. If I don't have that advantage, I go, well, I can't compete, therefore I don't bother. So the gap gets big very, very quickly. The one pushing forward is the one doing nothing, so it reinforces it. And I think that's because you do see, I mean, who's the there's the South African rugby scrum half. I mean, he's only about 5'2", but bloody hell, he's so quick, and he's big, but he stands against all his teammates and he's tiny. So you'd say, well, somebody that small wouldn't be very good at rugby. Well, there's always a place. Basketball teams, sometimes have the small guy that is very, very quick and far more maneuverable from somebody who's big and because of their size is a bit more lumbering. So and that's why it always comes back to if you think you can, you think you can't, you're probably right. So fabulous, good. Well, I hope you enjoyed that book. I certainly did. It was a good one to listen to and read again. So I thought, as you guys are the stalwarts of this, we're going to do Stephen Johnson's "Where Good Ideas Come From: The Natural History of Innovation," because I know that's hot on your list of things. So so I think it's taken a little bit of some of the ideas that we've come in here, but I think I was trying to think if I've read it, but I must have done because I've got a bookmark in it. So, but it was a long time ago, so I'm hoping
or it came with a free bookmark.
No, it definitely didn't come with a free bookmark because it's Bournemouth to Mercia, Kevin Stansfield in July 2015. So it was 7 years ago since I last picked this book up. So we'll so I think it was Mercia. That might have been a golf trip, I think. So that's our book for next month, which will be on the 29th of July. And then obviously the workshops are continuing, so they're the dates for the workshops. So I will Jane will get those books out to you in the next week or so, and I will continue to jivvy people along and see if we can get a few more people. But I do appreciate your time on the call and your input to this. It does make it worthwhile, and I will see you next time. So have a great day and a good weekend.
Yeah,
Bye for now.
Thank you very much.
Kevin.
Bye.